First, it starts with fear, not brotherhood. The kind of fear you don't say out loud, but it sits in your chest every night when the lights go out. First day inside, I looked around and saw silence in different forms. Nobody asks if you are okay. They watch, they measure who you stand with, what you bring, whether you matter. In that place, you learn fast. If you don't belong to anyone, you are exposed. So the first connection is not brotherhood, it is cover. You stand next to a man because he looks solid. He lets you stand there because you are not a problem yet. You call each other brother, but really you are building distance between you and danger. I saw a young one come in once, didn't understand how things move. He tried to be friendly with everyone, smiling, talking too much, saying brother every second sentence. Within a week, he got checked. Not because he was bad, but because he didn't understand that words mean nothing in there. Inside, names like brother are cheap at the start. Protection is not. Respect is not. You don't earn that by talking. You earn it by how you move when pressure comes, when food is short, when tension builds, when someone tests you. That is when people decide if you are worth standing next to, not before. I remember nights when nobody spoke, but you could feel everything. Who was tense? Who was watching? Who was ready? In those moments, the man next to you is not your brother. He is your situation, and you are his. That is the truth most people outside don't understand. Brotherhood in there is not given. It is built slowly, and it is built on top of fear. They used to call me P482. I learned early not to trust the word brother. I watched actions. I watched who stayed calm when things turned, who didn't step back, who didn't talk too much. Fear shows you everything if you are quiet enough to see it. That is where it starts. Not with loyalty, not with love, with fear. And what a man does while he is afraid.
2SD, lợi ích tạo nên liên kết, nhưng không giữ được lâu.
Something else takes its place. Not trust, not yet. Value. Inside, every man is measured by what he can bring into the space. Not money, not talk. Something real. Strength, calm, information, connections. The way you carry yourself when things get tight. That is what builds the next layer between men. I saw it happen over and over. Two men start moving together, not because they like each other, but because it makes sense. One knows how to handle pressure. The other has ties with the group. One keeps his head down and trains every day. The other watches and reads people well. Together, they become harder to touch. So they eat together, sit together, move together. From the outside, it looks like brotherhood. But underneath, it is structure. It is survival built on usefulness. There was a man I knew, older, quiet. He didn't talk much, but he trained every morning like clockwork. Push-ups, squats, dips on the edge of the bed. No excuses. Another man started sitting near him. At first, just watching, then joining. Not because they were friends, because he saw something stable, something he could attach himself to. Over time, they spoke more, shared small things. But the connection started with benefit, not emotion. That is how most bonds grow in there. You become useful, and people stay close. You lose that usefulness. Things shift. I've seen men get transferred, lose their position, lose their group, and suddenly the same voices calling them brother go quiet. Not always out of hate. Sometimes just because the structure changed. And in that place, structure is everything. This is where people outside get it wrong. They think loyalty comes first and builds strength. Inside, strength comes first. And sometimes, loyalty grows on top of it. But if the base disappears, the loyalty often goes with it. My name is Elias. I learned to never confuse proximity with loyalty. Just because someone stands next to you does not mean they stand for you. Watch what happens when your value drops. Watch who stays without needing something from you. That is where the difference shows. Benefit can bring men together, but it cannot hold them when pressure shifts. That is when the truth starts separating itself from the story. Third, the pressure to unmask people will eventually reveal who is real and who is fake. Time inside is slow, but pressure is constant. That combination breaks illusions. A man can act solid for a few days, maybe a few weeks, but not forever. Not when the same walls close in every day. Not when food runs low, when tension builds, when someone gets tested and everyone is watching without looking like they are watching. That is when the masks start to slip. I remember one guy, always loud about loyalty, always talking about brotherhood, about never folding, about standing 10 toes no matter what. On calm days, he looked convincing. He moved like he believed his own words. But pressure does not care about words. One night, things turned. Small conflict, but enough. You could feel it in the air. Quiet got heavier, eyes got sharper, and when it came down to standing or stepping back, he hesitated, just a second. But inside, 1 second is enough. People saw it. He saw that they saw it. After that, nobody said anything to his face, but everything changed. Then there was another man, barely spoke, kept to himself, trained every day like it was the only thing holding him together. No speeches, no promises. When things got tense, he didn't move forward or back. He just stayed, calm, present, not trying to prove anything, just not breaking. That kind of presence speaks louder than any words. Slowly, without asking for it, respect built around him. That is how truth shows itself in there, not through declarations, through repetition under pressure. Every day is a test, even when nothing happens. How you eat, how you speak, how you react when disrespected, how you carry yourself when you are tired, hungry, or angry. People are always reading that. Over time, the titles fade. Brother, friend, ally. They don't mean much on their own. What matters is pattern. Who stays consistent? Who changes when things get uncomfortable? Who protects himself at the cost of others? Who holds his line without needing recognition? They used to call me P482. I stopped listening to what men said. I watched what they repeated. Pressure is honest. It strips everything down to behavior. And behavior, repeated long enough, tells you exactly who a man is. That is when you start to see it clearly. Some bonds get stronger under that weight. Most don't. Some relationships become a substitute for family. Most of it is, but not all. When you strip men down to routine, pressure, and repetition, something deeper can form. Not fast, not easy, but real in a way people outside don't understand. Some men never had a real family before they came in. No structure, no guidance. No one who stayed long enough to matter. So when they find themselves seeing the same faces every day, eating the same food, breathing the same air, going through the same tension, something changes over time. Not because they want it to, because the environment forces honesty. I remember 2 men who ended up like that. No shared past, no reason to connect at the start. One was older, already quiet, already disciplined. The other was younger, restless, always looking for direction. At first, they just trained near each other. No long conversations, just repetition. Push-ups, squats, dips, day after day. Then small things started. Saving a portion of food, passing it without making it a moment, a short sentence here and there. Advice given without sounding like advice. The older one didn't try to teach, he just lived a certain way. The younger one watched, then copied. Over time, that turned into something that looked closer to family than anything they had outside. No one said it out loud. No one needed to. It showed in how they moved. If one had tension, the other was near without asking questions. If one was down, the other kept the routine going so neither of them slipped. That kind of connection doesn't come from words. It comes from shared pressure and consistent behavior. But even that has a cost, because inside, nothing is guaranteed. Transfers happen. Situations change. One day you are moving side by side. The next day, one of you is gone. No goodbye, no closure. Just empty space where a routine used to be. My name is Elias. I learned that even in a place built on survival, something real can grow. But you don't chase it. You don't force it. You recognize it while it's there. And you carry the discipline it was built on when it's gone. That is the closest thing to family most men will ever find in a place like that. Fifth, betrayal is always there, and it often comes from the closest one. You expect pressure from outside. You stay ready for it. What catches people off guard is when it comes from someone who stood next to them yesterday. That is the part nobody wants to talk about when they say brotherhood. Inside, fear never leaves. It just hides better on some days. And when real pressure shows up, when consequences get serious, when a man has to choose between his own safety and someone else's, that is where things break. Not always, but often enough that you never forget it. I saw it happen more than once. Two men moving together for months, eating together, training together, back-to-back intense moments. Everyone around them calling them solid. Then one situation changes. Maybe authority steps in. Maybe another group applies pressure. Maybe a deal is offered. Something shifts, and suddenly one of them starts thinking differently. Not out of hate, not always out of greed, sometimes just fear. Pure survival instinct. The same thing that created the bond in the first place turns against it. There was one case I remember clear. A man who always spoke about loyalty, not loud like the others, but steady. People trusted him because he didn't talk too much. Then one situation came where staying loyal meant taking a hit that could follow him for years. He chose himself, quietly. No scene, just a decision. And the other man only realized it when it was already done. No shouting, no drama, just silence after. That is how betrayal feels in there. Not explosive, cold, efficient, final. After that, everything changes for the one who gets hit. Not just how he sees others, but how he moves. He talks less, trusts slower, watches more. Because once you see how quickly things can turn, you stop believing in permanent bonds. Sixth, discipline. And training will hold you up more than brotherhood. You stop looking around as much. Not because people don't matter, but because you understand something deeper. Men come and go. Situations change. Bonds shift. But one thing can stay if you hold it right. Your discipline. Inside, routine is not just a way to pass time. It is structure for the mind. It is something that does not betray you, does not disappear, does not depend on another man's decision. When everything else is uncertain, repetition becomes your anchor. I built that early. Not because I was strong, but because I saw what happens when a man has nothing to hold on to. He drifts, he overthinks, he reacts instead of choosing. That is when he becomes weak, even if his body is still there. Push-ups on the floor, squats in a tight space, dips on the edge of a bed. Same movements every day. No music, no motivation, just repetition. At first, it feels small, pointless even. But over time, it builds something that is not visible right away. Control. I remember days when tension was high, when the air felt heavy, when anything could turn. Men looked at each other, waiting, reading, reacting. On those days, the only thing that kept my head straight was the routine I had already built. While others were caught in the noise, I stayed with what I knew. Breathe, move, repeat. That kind of discipline does something brotherhood cannot always do. It keeps you stable even when you stand alone. And that matters, because no matter how solid a bond feels, there will be moments where it is just you and your decisions. My name is Elias. I respect loyalty. I understand brotherhood, but I never placed it above self-control. Because a man without discipline will lose himself, even surrounded by others. And a man with discipline can stand steady, even when nobody stands with him. In the end, that is what you carry out with you. Not the names, not the stories. The habits, the structure, the way you respond under pressure, that is yours. And that is what keeps you from going back. They used to call me P482. I never forgot one thing. The closer someone stands to you, the more damage they can do if they step away at the wrong time. That doesn't mean you isolate yourself. That is another kind of weakness. It means you stay aware. You understand the nature of the place. Brotherhood can be real, but it is never immune to pressure. And pressure always comes.